The media landscape in New Zealand has been through some big changes in recent months, so Kiwis know all about the media industry's struggle for viability. Some of the same issues are at play across the Tasman in Australia, where the industry is increasingly fragmented and advertising revenues are in decline. Our underarm correspondent, Lachlan Calhoun, is looking at the Australian media in his column this week, and he joins me now. Lachlan, what have been the major developments in the Australian media of late?
Well, the two big forces, Hamish, in our media have been fragmentation, in the fragmentation of the audience, in the way that people have been accessing their media, going to sort of more specialised websites which are focused on different demographics. But that has led to a consolidation among the existing legacy players. So, I mean, obviously the story has been the ongoing erosion of advertising market, and of course the rivers of gold of classified advertising, which subsidised newspapers for so many years when I was a younger journalist. They don't exist anymore. All that classified advertising has gone online. So it's created some big changes in the corporate side of our media business. Channel 9 was always the big free-to-air network here, owned by the Packer family. The Packer family sold out of that. They went into the gaming industry. So Channel 9 is now owned by institutions, which also now owns the former Fairfax newspapers, Sydney Morning Herald, Age, Australian Financial Review. The free-to-air advertising on television has collapsed. We have 4 free-to-air networks here. Channel 10 has been variously owned by a few people, including the Murdochs. Paramount own it now. They've obviously got their own problems, so they'll probably be forced to sell it. Our regional press, under big pressure, Fairfax sold off all their regional newspapers. They're really struggling to turn a profit there. So there's a lot of rationalisation going on there, and a lot of journalists losing their jobs, and a lot of rationalisation of content all around the country.
You've already mentioned the big name, but Rupert Murdoch's News Corp is a big player in the Australian market. How are they responding?
They get most of their growth and revenue now. I think it's tipped over 50% from their digital advertising and their digital assets. They own, a few years ago, they purchased realestate.com, which I think is also active in New Zealand. That is a big source of revenue and growth. The legacy businesses, the regional newspaper, the state-based regional newspapers, Adelaide Advertiser, Herald Sun, those papers not doing very well at all. They're growing their subscription base on the Australian, but the print edition is really failing because display advertising is on the back foot. Now, Lachlan Murdoch was here very recently with Rebecca Brooks, who's the head of news in the UK, and they went through the place with a major restructuring. I think they're looking to strip out about $65 million from the news operation, and that's led to a major restructuring around the regional papers. So the Australian, coincidentally, is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. Started in 1964 by Rupert Murdoch as a national paper. But strangely, even though the subscriptions on the Australian are improving, it's the regional papers which are struggling. They're the ones who've received the big wins in the restructure.
How is all of this changing the nature of journalism in Australia?
I don't know whether it's related, Hamish, but as the industry has come under pressure financially in Australia, it seems to become more partisan and toxic in tone. I don't know whether that's just a sign of the times. I've been, honestly, this is my 5th decade in Australian journalism, and News Corporation, I've never seen it so partisan and so right-wing in nature. And that's happened in a way that it was never like that in the past. I mean, it used to be that news was news, opinion was opinion, and never the twain shall meet. That's not really the case now. And News Corporation, they also own Sky News, which is the television network where it's even more virulently anti-Labor, anti-Albanese, a lot of climate change skeptics on there. They don't like renewable energy, and it's very pro-Israel. So that's they're also mounting a lot of attacks against other media companies, particularly the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is they now see as direct competition in a way that they didn't before, because print was print and electronic was electronic, and they never crossed over. But now they're getting very aggressive, I would say, in their approach.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because Australia is heading for an election later this year. How do you think they'll respond?
Well, I think it's going to get supercharged, unfortunately. And I think the strange reality is that if somebody reads the Australian and watches Sky News, they're going to have a completely different worldview than if they read the Sydney Morning Herald and tuned into the ABC. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a recipe for more toxicity, more personal attacks. And more division, and I think that's really unedifying. I think that instead of being there to inform people and help people make up their own minds, now we have a media which is much more proactive and partisan, and it is taking sides in politics in a way that we've never seen before.
Lachlan, thanks very much for your time.
Cheers, Hamish.
To support our award-winning independent journalism, subscribe to nbr.co.nz.